Europe is renowned for its mid laners. From the greats of the game's early days,
you can see this coming in there. Peke is desperately up towards the Nexus. Kevin is going to be able to go towards him. He's trying to do it, but meanwhile they're in the base. Yellowstar's trying to defend them in the base. Peke is trying to take the Nexus down. Is anyone going to be able to deal with this one? Catches him with another axe. He's very low. They're pushing on the Nexus to his Peke managed to get it. I do not believe it.
To more modern stars like Power of Evil or Febiven.
So the visits into the jungle not as fruitful.
And there's the death mark coming in.
And will it be enough? The pop and the ignites! Febiven,
but that one
V1's Faker.
And though there have been times where their strength wavered, there has always been another generation of great European mids. And in some ways, it feels like it has all been building up to Caps.
Turret down. Will this be a fight? In goes Licorice, and it's a big bunch of damage. They popped off one, but here comes the backline access. Licorice wants to flash away. It's 2 for 1, 3 for 1. Kills coming across as C9 picking up the combo with the backline. Oh, look at Caps! He's done everything, and Sneaky falls. A massive quadra kill for Caps.
He's a mechanical genius.
I've already made the statement before that I think he's basically the most mechanically gifted player we have ever sent out of Europe.
He's not afraid to do what's unexpected.
I know I made the statement before that Caps can play everything. I did not expect a mid lane Vayne to be a thing.
That's crazy.
And he's still young. Caps has been a hair's breadth from glory, and he's not done chasing it. This is his story. Rasmus Caps Winther was born on November 17, 1999 in Denmark to a family that embraced video games. His older brother Christopher, around a decade his senior, often played games while Caps was a kid, and Caps was entranced. Caps' brother played Dota 2 at a high level under the handle Rise on a slew of teams between 2012 and 2017. And while his brother traveled to compete in tournaments, Caps was grinding solo queue in a different MOBA altogether, League of Legends. It was clear from the beginning that Caps was a talented mid laner, and in January 2015, a 15-year-old Caps signed with Enigma eSports, a small multi-gaming org based in Finland. Though Enigma played mostly in small European tournaments, Caps began to make a name for himself for flashy solo queue plays. And though it's not clear exactly when he picked up this nickname, Caps' prowess in solo queue led some of Europe's high elo players to dub him Baby Faker.
I don't remember exactly how it started, but I believe it was when we were playing some of the higher elos on EU was playing together. And as many know, when someone does something cool or something fancy, people will say, "Oh, you're a Faker." And then because of my age, I think people started saying like, "Oh, Baby Faker."
Of course, when Faker came to Europe for the 2015 League of Legends World Championship, he encountered a young Caps in solo queue. And after the young mid laner sprinkled a little BM into all chat, the greatest player to ever touch the game showed Caps what a full-grown mid laner could do. Caps bounced between orgs in early 2016, playing in online tournaments and honing his skills in solo queue. Eventually, he signed with Nerv midway through the summer challenger split.
It's going to be Nerv with Wicked in the top lane, Memento in the jungle, but the new players here, Caps, Upset, and Nukesalot, all coming in for Nerv to see if they can shake up that lineup a little bit.
Caps' addition was not enough to make up for a weak start, and Nerv finished the season in last place, though Caps did manage to put up a few highlights.
Caps is coming in from the backline. Ashara is onto Joko, and the teleport delivers Kaze. Kaze's going so low, rooted in place by Nukesalot. The heal comes up very, very good thanks to Subjugate, but Caps gets a kill into Joko. The Celestial Expansion is ticking damage away. That's a triple, that's a quadra! Looking for more! This could be a pentakill! It's secured by Caps on Aurelion Sol!
But in the wake of the challenger split, Caps moved a little further from home, signing with Turkish LoL team Dark Passage in July to play in their summer split playoffs. With Caps and fellow European jungler Xerxes on the roster, Dark Passage won the TCL playoffs.
Ekstra etkiler
Ulti
derken.
geldi bu arada, kasıyorlar. Caps'in üzerinde büyük bir hasar var. Şu anda burada bir kişi düşecek. Kim olacak bu? Kim olacak? Adı kim olacak? Vlad mı kasıyor mu? Vlad mı kasıyor mu? Kimse düşmedi derken. Sıçra Caps.
The win would have given Caps a chance to play in the International Wildcard Tournament for a potential spot at Worlds, but he was too young to attend the event. Still, his performance in Turkey, coupled with his raw mechanical talent, was enough to attract the attention of a major European org looking to refresh its roster, fnatic.
I probably would have stayed in school, maybe. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't join fnatic. Maybe I would join another team, but I'm not really sure.
Caps' place on the team was revealed on a stream in December 2016, and the initial community response was mixed. Caps was a promising up-and-coming player and a solo queue star, but for one of the region's most famous teams, he was an unknown quantity. fnatic, for their part, were in a bit of a rebuilding period. 2016 had been G2's year in Europe, and for the organization that had once dominated Europe, a new roster with promising talent was an attempt to reclaim their throne. But the first split of 2017 did not belong to fnatic. They placed third in their group in the regular season and managed a playoff run to semifinals, where they lost to eventual champions G2 eSports.
Perks! Three-man stun! Perks may have just won the game for fnatic. Keep your eyes on Reckless. He needs to pull off a miracle. The captain, the caller, he can't do it. G2 eSports, they stop fnatic in their tracks and advance to their third split finals.
It wasn't a return to form exactly for the old kings of Europe, but a third-place finish was a promising start. And though Reckless and Broxa were a big part of their playoff success, Caps was beginning to make a name for himself in the old Grand Arena that is the European mid lane.
Yeah, Caps took a lot of damage. Remember earlier, he used that ultimate just to clear the wave. Perks with an insta cleanse, running for his life. Caps is going low. Exhaust on the trick, under the tower. Then goes down.
The exhaust from Caps just saved the day.
He built a reputation as an aggressive laner, and also for picking some unusual mids, from his pocket Aurelion Sol to Kayle to Camille.
But he's in the ultimatum right now, blocking damage. They flash in. Reckless throws down the chains of corruption, and it's gonna be Caps that follows through.
There's a lot of picks that are good in certain scenarios, and I just feel like I feel confident enough that I can pull it off, even if I don't have too much practice on it. And I think a lot of other players, they realize that the champions are good in those situations, but they maybe don't have the same confidence. Maybe they are more confident in like a smaller champion pool, and something they have practiced a lot of times, right? But I'm more like, I'm ready to play anything.
Heading into the summer split, fnatic may not have been favorites against the likes of G2 eSports, but they had a shot, and the regular season showed promise. Once again, Caps was a big part of his team's success, and once again, he did it on some unconventional champions.
It's been something he's been playing quite a bit of, especially that Corki.
Oh! So that's Kane top or mid lane.
All right, fnatic, they're the ones that take that away to start things off.
That's going to be Caps. He's the kind of guy to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, why not?
After a turbulent spring split, fnatic were sitting in first place in Group A by the end of the summer, ahead of both G2 and Misfits.
Obviously, best form fnatic's been in, arguably the best team in Europe, expected to make finals. Is that extra pressure? Is that really difficult?
I mean, it definitely gives pressure, but I like pressure, I think. And as I told Finlay when I joined the team, my goal to win fnatic is to win Worlds, so yeah.
fnatic entered their semi-final match as heavy favorites against Misfits. But Misfits were not the same team that they had been in the regular season, and the series did not go as fnatic expected.
They look for Broxa. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to do a whole lot more without that Glacial Prison. However, the mini-wave's no longer Baron empowered. That's a little bit of sweat off fnatic's brow, but they might just lose the fight right here. The damage is real, and that is going to be it. A double kill from PoE. fnatic falling to the hands of Misfits. And for this team, things are looking oh so good as they close out fnatic. Raid boss down, and it's a date with destiny in Paris.
After a split full of promise, it was a disappointment. fnatic didn't win the summer split. They didn't even make it to the finals. Of course, their season wasn't over. Fnatic took down H2K in a close third-place match that earned them the top seed to the regional Gauntlet. There, they would once again face off against H2K. And this time, Caps and company secured a spot at Worlds in dominant fashion.
Caps, he was confident going into this game here, and this was one of the most one-sided BU5s I have seen in a long time here in Europe.
Fnatic made it out of the play-in stage at Worlds 2017 fairly convincingly, but it would be anything but smooth sailing from there. In the first week of the group stage, disaster struck. Whether it was nerves on the part of rookies on the world's biggest stage, unforced errors, or something else altogether, things were not clicking. Fnatic lost.
Gigabyte Marines are gonna take the game! Gigabyte Marines taking down the third seed from Europe, a first blow for Vietnam!
Again?
I don't think they can do this. 650 interrupted and him
They're gonna lose, Fnatic, they can't commit to this. IMT, they're gonna win the game!
The turrets are exposed, this could be bad news. The turrets are gonna fall. IMT force Fnatic out, and they win another slobber knocker.
And again.
We talked about how good Longzhu were, how dominant they could be. The shortest game of Worlds thus far. The dancing Rift Herald encapsulating everything that was this game. Because to me, it felt like Fnatic didn't even get to play League of Legends. Longzhu were just one step ahead at every turn.
It was a devastating start to the tournament for a group of players who entered groups feeling confident. They entered the second week in do-or-die mode. And in their first game against tournament favorites Longzhu Gaming, things only got worse. Fnatic put up a fight, but were no match for Longzhu's well-oiled aggression. At 0-4, Fnatic found themselves in a must-win situation, and they would need some help. After all, no one had ever started 0-3 and made it out of groups, let alone 0-4. But thanks to the Gigabyte Marines beating Immortals, Fnatic had a chance. And in their next match against Immortals, they netted a much-needed win.
3v4, Immortals forced to run away, but Fnatic, they want this one. The chains forward on Public, not quite the blade color range, and just barely missing onto that Miasma, but there's still more to be done. They're looking for the kill. Reckless gonna come in, and Brock's gonna get the kill credit on that one. And the flash bar, Cody Sun wants the insect, but betrays his teammate, and it's gonna be the ace for Fnatic.
Cody Sun loses his mind by flashing into an entire team at the end.
Reckless, now on to the Necklace, they're going. Do they have the damage output? The hits are coming in. Is it gonna be the game? Fnatic, look to knock him down. Will they get Soed? He's trying. It's the game. Fnatic 1-4, the knockdown Immortals.
Then, they won their next game.
Broxa gets the kill on the cannon. Everybody's flashed in. Archie, the only one left is Broxa. Finds the final execute with the ulti. And Fnatic, they needed to win, and they have done it.
And thanks to what can only be described as a world's miracle, Fnatic found themselves in a three-way tie with Immortals and the Gigabyte Marines. Fnatic would have to play a mini gauntlet to get out of the group. One loss would spell the end of their time at Worlds. The game against Immortals was a convincing affair. Then came Vietnam's surprisingly successful Gigabyte Marines.
Two going in again, say it. No one to make it, but the Nexus is open. No way, makes his way back in, but he's not gonna do it. Captain finds a clutch play, and Fnatic do the unthinkable and make their way to the quarterfinals. So close, Optimus forced the shockwave, the wave has to go in, and there it is.
They won the game, completed an absolutely remarkable run, and secured a berth to quarterfinals.
It is a miracle. No team has ever gone 0-3 in week 1 and made it. You won 4 straight games today to make it, Caps. How do you feel? Do you feel like you deserved it?
I think the first thing I feel is I feel really tired at this point.
It might have just been a berth to the top 8, but for a group of players who'd become so accustomed to almosts and what-ifs, it was proof that Fnatic could compete on the international stage. But the quarterfinals against China's Royal Never Give Up were another heartbreak.
Reckless struggling to get up, and we heard it, emotional words, emotional stories. He actually said, "This might be my last Worlds."
And it is the summer split MVP of the EULCS who missed the final in the EULCS. Moved on to Worlds though because they won the Gauntlet.
Still, their Worlds berth had gone better than anyone had thought was possible after their first week of the group stage. Fnatic went home wounded, but with their heads held high. Of course, through it all, Caps' performance in the mid lane wasn't the only thing shining through. so was his big personality.
I am the master of shadows.
Are you? The unseen blade is the deadliest.
Secrets kept are hit weapons. Wait, how was it?
Caps is all business on the Rift, but out of game, he's almost always smiling. The offseason saw relatively few changes for the Org as they picked up another promising rookie as a top lane sub, Bwipo, and replaced Jesses with Hylissang. 2018 saw fnatic hit the ground running, rolling through the spring split with a 14-4 record, earning them the first seed heading to the playoffs. Throughout the split, Caps had begun to distinguish himself as more than just a promising mid laner, more than just someone willing to pick wild, off-meta champions. He'd cemented himself as one of Europe's strongest mid laners. Along with Perks, Caps had begun to ascend to the lofty heights of Europe's great mids.
I mean, Caps is just one of the most exciting guys to play because he's just so passionate. He's incredibly talented, he's incredibly invested, he's incredibly emotional. And when you see this guy win or lose, you get everything.
His performance in the regular season earned Caps a spot on the All-Pro team, while Reckless seized season MVP. fnatic entered the playoffs confident and hungry. And this time, they wouldn't let the trophy slip through their grasp.
And for the first time in 2 years, fnatic advanced to the finals.
And it's fair to say that Caps was confident going into the grand finals in Copenhagen.
I love this, Caps. You were really tilted off Perks' words yesterday.
Yes,
you are so angry. So how is that going to translate onto the Rift? What are you going to do to Perks in Copenhagen?
I'm gonna smash him so hard that he's gonna think that it's an international tournament.
The grand finals wound up being a one-sided affair.
No TP on support from the rest of GG. Oh, Caps! He just solo killed Perks!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an international event as Caps smacks Perks.
Oh my word!
It was Caps' first domestic title and would earn him a spot at MSI. The mid-season invitational was the first test for this revamped fnatic roster on the world stage, and they came up somewhat wanting.
Serve and win here for fnatic. They're not celebrating yet. They know there's still so much of MSI to be played for them, but the criticisms went team-wide. Caps had a down day, Reckless a down tournament. They turn it around when they need to. Hammering down on an Nexus, but that is game, and RNG will move on to the finals.
3-0 against fnatic.
RNG have to feel good about finding that win. They looked good in their wins. It wasn't perfectly clean, but at the same time, their team fight execution, their ability to stall out and play to win conditions was well demonstrated.
Still, the tournament was further proof that Caps could compete with the world's best.
Prey is going to flash to safety, manages to escape with his life. The Ignite is ticking down. Here comes a heroic entrance, and Gorilla escapes with his life. Caps gets one, for two. Oh, Caps' Yasuo is beautiful.
The summer split was a turbulent time for fnatic, with Reckless choosing to bench himself for much of the mage-heavy meta. With Bwipo playing alongside Hylissang in the bot lane, fnatic relied on Caps to be their primary carry, a contrast to their 2017 style.
I think we were very set on a style where we were just hard camping bot lane in 2017, which obviously made it so that I didn't have the resources to perform as good as I want to be. But like next year we started playing more around mid, and I got to show what I can do as well.
And he didn't let them down. From dominating performances on meta champions.
Bwipo staying alive, now ignited. He's going to get burned to death. On the left of your screen, Smitty J picks up a kill under the tower. Here comes Caps. There's a party. Everybody's invited. And for the time being, everybody's going to die. It's a double for Caps. Soaz picks up his third of the fight.
To his classic unorthodox choices.
Corky again. Yeah, good Corky again. Whoa! That's a Vayne mid lane. Into a Galio?
I know I made the statement before that Caps can play everything. I did not expect a mid lane Vayne to be a thing.
That's crazy.
Caps picked up Summer Split MVP, and fnatic cruised into a playoff run that felt inevitable. And in Barcelona, they claimed their second EU LCS title, earning themselves a World's berth.
the team plays around him. He is the star player on Fnatic. It's not reckless. It is really all about Caps. And because his performance at MSI, especially in the group stage, was so strong and, in my opinion, was the best out of the mid laners, I'm not scared that he can't perform against international players, which is always one of the big questions when you have a hyped up Western player.
Fnatic entered Worlds confident that they could escape their group in first place, and they got off to a good start.
This kind of hurts Rikara a little more than it does Reckless, because in the 1 versus 1,
what a great stun. Caps looking for it, does put the Vanguard's edge. Flash forward, that's a solo kill. Caps does it in style.
They hit a bit of a snag against Invictus Gaming, but they kept it together and won every other group stage game they played, including a rematch against Invictus Gaming that forced a tiebreaker for first place in their group. And though it was close, Fnatic pulled it off.
They take down IG not once, but twice, and they end the game in emphatic fashion. The fountain dive and the triple kill for Caps.
Fnatic's quarterfinal opponents were Edward Gaming, a team that had shown some promise in groups, but which most analysts thought Fnatic could overcome. They did, queuing up a historic semifinal bout against Cloud9, guaranteeing a Western team in the grand finals for the first time since Season 1. Given the caliber of opponents both Cloud9 and Fnatic had defeated, it looked set to be a close back-and-forth series. It was anything but.
5v3, and the last hope for the West will be Fnatic, the kings of the West, the kings of Europe. It's going to be Fnatic looking to knock it down in the 5v3 to get those last few kills. A desperate engage and a shutdown on the Caps. A few more seconds fought, but look at the blade color. It's everyone dead. Fnatic are the kings of the West, and they will represent in the World Final.
Fnatic swept Cloud9 in a match that cemented them as the greatest Western team at the tournament. And one superfan in particular was very proud to have seen it.
Caps' dad, welcome. There we go.
Wow.
So your son is having a bit of trouble realizing that he wants to stay calm. What can you say about the fact that he's made it to the final?
So wow, it's EU made to the finals, and it's first time ever.
Yeah.
I don't have all the histories, but I know that this is amazing.
Yeah.
And he played actually so damn well, so I could kick the ball. So yeah, you're so good.
On the other side of the bracket, Invictus Gaming had defeated tournament favorites KT Rolster in a shocking 5-game series, then similarly dispatched their semifinal foes G2 3-0. Two underdogs, neither of them Korean, in a grand final for the first time since Korea got a server in 2012. Neither of them were expected to make it this far, but both were ready to make history.
This is the best chance I'll ever get. Now that I'm here, I feel like I want it more than ever, and I don't think IG has the same sort of fire that we do.
But in Game 1, it was clear that this was not the same Invictus Gaming that Caps and Fnatic had defeated in groups.
And they will push now onto both Nexus turrets, onto Nexus itself, and they will lead this series 1-0.
And Games 2 and 3 didn't go any better.
He can run away, but the Nexus cannot. It'll be brought down, and that's IG taking us to match point. IG are on to Nexus. The LPL has never won before, but that will change today. The Crownless are finally king, and Invictus Gaming are your 2018 World Champions.
It was a devastating loss that few had expected to be as one-sided as it was. History for China, but heartbreak for Europe. It hit Fnatic hard, but they returned to Europe as the most successful Western team in modern League of Legends history. Still, Caps has trouble giving that finals a positive spin.
So I feel like I always found like there's a one winner, right, and everyone else loses. So in that sense, it doesn't mean that much to me, because I at the end of the day I lost, right? And the only thing it means to me is that we proved that we can beat anyone. And it gives us more confidence in the sense that we believe even more that we can beat everyone next time we play internationally. But in terms of like accomplishment, I feel like we lost, you know.
Caps, for his part, has ascended. He'd climbed not just to the upper echelon of Europe's famous mid laners, he'd made a case for himself as the greatest among them, perhaps the greatest ever from Europe. But he'd also decided it was time for a change.
So I was looking for a lot of teams, and I thought G2 looked the most interesting. I feel like their playstyle is very, like they play the same kind of way that I want to play. They have like a very aggressive mindset, and they are okay with making mistakes as long as they're like proactive.
With Perks swapping to AD carry in perhaps the wildest trade in Europe's history, Caps will not be wearing a Fnatic jersey in 2019.
The move from Fnatic to G2, the fact that Perks has gone to AD carry, it's a bold one. But in his own words, he doesn't want to be comfortable, he doesn't want to be complacent. He's going for the big move, he's going for the risky play. Just like his gameplay on the Rift, he's making decisions about his teams, and time will tell if it pays off.
Caps is young but decorated, inexperienced but seasoned. He's a big personality, but his reputation is starting to outgrow him. He's a mechanical prodigy in the grand tradition of the game's greatest stars. And like those that came before him, Caps has proven himself on the game's biggest stages early in his career. He's faced down legends, defeated some, and been swatted aside by others. But Caps' story is far from closed. His first 2 years in Europe have given the West hope they can compete on the world stage. They've given him 2 domestic titles. But his best years may well be ahead of him. And through it all, he's kept on smiling.
Thanks for watching. If you want more great content just like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button.